We are seeing that little bit of a pullback today, but as I was saying, we have had a strong run this week.
Yes, we have had a very strong rally this week. It has been what they call a golden week, gold being the proper shiner throughout the whole week. And as we've seen today, as we opened, a lot of profit taking happening. Also, the United States is on holiday on Monday, so a lot of people just a bit uncertain as to what's going to happen later on next week. And so we're seeing a lot of profit taking at the moment. But yes, very, very strong week this week.
And it's not just the JSE, we also saw the FTSE also coming under a little bit of pressure as we head into the afternoon session.
Yes, yeah, they are also a bit under pressure, performing slightly better than what we are, but also pullback mainly because of profit taking based on what's happened with the gold, and just some people re-looking at their portfolios and waiting for next week Tuesday when the United States is back.
Of course, China closing higher today, but that market has been closed for a week for those Chinese holidays, so not surprising that they have to play a bit of catch-up in the Chinese market this morning.
Yes, a lot of catch-up today in China. You know, they were away for 8 days, and we saw broad-based rallies and broad-based buying in the market. So yes, they ended up just a slight bit, you know, I think about 15.15% up, but yes, a very good and strong showing in China today.
Now, of course, you mentioned it's a holiday in the US on Monday. We had earnings season kicking off this week. We've had Alcoa's results better than expected. PepsiCo yesterday, a little bit worse than expected. But the earnings season really gets into full throttle next week, doesn't it? So we'll have to wait until Tuesday to see how that's going to progress, aren't we?
Yes, we do. I think the Alcoa was a very, very good start. Market reacted very well to it. We saw that the United States as well as the Asian markets this morning closed up quite a bit. So, you know, I think what's important coming out next week is the consumer-related stocks that we'll be looking at. To see if the consumer truly is coming back. I know yesterday some retailers in America did say that their sales have risen up quite a bit, showing that the consumer may perhaps be coming back into the market. But just going into next week, it will be very important to have a look at what director statements are going forward as far as their companies are concerned, as well as what they view the economy to be like for them. And so, yeah, a very important week next week.
So do you think we're going to start off the week on quite a cautious note as we wait for those earnings to start coming through?
Yeah, you know, I think what would be driving next week really would be more also the commodity side, you know, what the dollar would be doing. And obviously then the reaction that that gold will have there. So I think it's going to be also a very resource intensive week, and just you know, just really the market looking to see whether this can be sustained, whether this rally in gold is sustainable, and you know, whether new highs can be reached, can be attained.
Of course, we did see gold pulling back a little bit today. It reached that $1,060 or over $1,060 an ounce yesterday. It's back around $1,045 at the moment. But we did have the dollar strengthening slightly, and that was after comments made by the Fed chief Ben Bernanke. Why has that given the dollar that bit of strength?
I think what was important from what Bernanke said is that they are still committed to the dollar, you know, and the dollar has been under threat of late, where we heard that oil exporters were considering using a basket of currencies rather than the dollar to denominate oil. And you know, and I think a lot of attention, a negative attention, has been placed on the dollar of late. So the chairman coming out and saying that yes, they are committed to the dollar has helped a lot. Also that they've said that the United States does have tools in place to pull back on this flood of cash and loans that they've been extending to the economy, and that the monetary policy will start to be tightened a little bit as the economy recovers. So those are very key statements in showing that Bernanke believes that yes, at the moment the market is recovering. They are looking at it, and they are looking at it tightly, and will react accordingly.
Of course, at the same time, we had the Bank of England and the European Central Bank yesterday keeping interest rates unchanged. I mean, are we seeing signs of inflation coming through at this stage? We know that the Australian Central Bank did increase its base lending rate earlier this week.
Yes, I think, you know, it's very interesting that Australia was the first to actually increase, even though it was a small amount, 25 basis points. But I think what the rest of the central bankers in the world are starting to do is to look at current monetary policy, look at current economic conditions, and then react accordingly. Everything, obviously not everybody will do it at the same time, but I think what came out of their statements is that they are happy with where things are. They are starting to see a recovery, and they will react adapt accordingly. So yes, they did keep their rates the same, but going forward, I think we will start seeing more and more countries starting to raise interest rates.
Well, despite all this, oil prices seem to be pretty muted at the moment. We have oil currently trading around $69 a barrel. We know that the highest it's been this year is at $75 a barrel, but it's battling to get back up to those levels. Why do you think oil is under pressure at the moment?
I really think it's mainly an inventory story that oil is not reacting as we would have expected it to. I think there's still a lot of supply in the market and the inventory levels are still very high. So we haven't really necessarily seen that translated into the oil price. It did go up slightly this week, but it's been hovering around about the $68 level since about perhaps the beginning of mid-September to now. But not much of reaction happening there. And also, oil is very important because it also is another reflector of the consumer spending and what's going on with the American consumer specifically, who's the biggest consumer of oil.
Of course, not many stocks heading up today. We had one share that performed very well yesterday and was also higher this morning. That's SABMiller. It was up 2% yesterday. It was up about 0.5% this morning. And we do know that we were chatting about SABMiller last Friday, and that was really on speculation that it could be in line to buy part of FEMSA or FEMSA's beer unit, and that's in Mexico. What's driving SABMiller at the moment, do you think?
I think, a broker update from UBS came out today. Also, they're expecting the SAB price to be around about the 200 to 10 level. And we read this morning that a new chief executive has been appointed at SABMiller in India. So, and also with this potential corporate action with FEMSA in Mexico, I think a very good week for SAB. We saw it rally quite a bit this week to be hovering around about the 188 level right now. But a very good showing, and one stock to watch, especially if you're looking for stocks with corporate action.